This is an LSDA Grade 2 passage function knob, and if you purchase this from lockpeddler.com, you're going to need to know how to take one off and put one back on. So I'm going to show you how to do that step by step. Okay, first things first, we're going to go ahead and push this retaining pin right here with a pin. Just right through the hole, push in and pull the knob and set that aside. That's your step one. Now I'm going to show you step two. Okay, step two. You're going to have to locate this little slot on the bottom of the knob, pull the bevel out, and as you have it out, you're going to push towards the upper right hand corner with the bevel, and it'll slip off in your hand. Now we'll move on to step three. Okay, step three, we're going to reverse these two screws. There's one, there's two, and now this plate will just come right off. And just set that aside. Step four is pretty simple. Just pull the whole assembly out. It'll just come right out. Okay, fifth and final step. Just reverse these two screws. And then this, you can just set this aside wherever you'd like. Now I'll show you how to reinstall. Okay, first step, we're going to install our latch. And of course, if the door is swinging this direction, you want to have this part of the latch facing the door frame. And vice versa, if it's closing this direction, you want to make sure that the latch is facing the door frame or facing the actual strike itself. And this, of course, just attaches with the same two screws. Okay, a couple little lips to be aware of. This one here, and these two that ride along the two sides of your piston. Now we're going to go ahead and install our knob for step two. And just make sure that those all line up correctly in that window. And now you're going to test for operation before you go any further. If everything's working, we'll go on to our next step. Okay, step three is pretty simple. You're going to install this plate and make sure that this little spring pin is facing outwards. And of course there's actually a little reminder here that this is the top. You're going to finger tighten these things to start. And now we're just going to go ahead and screw those in. Now I'll move on to our next step. Okay, step three is pretty simple. You're going to install this plate and make sure that this little spring pin is facing outwards. And of course there's actually a little reminder here that this is the top. You're going to finger tighten these things to start. And now we're just going to go ahead and screw those in. Now I'll move on to our next step. Okay, step four. As you can see, this bevel plate has a little tiny insert right here. Well, that little spring that we were speaking of before, right down here, is going to fit in that little depression there. I'm going to turn this sideways to get a better view of it. And you're going to line that spring up with that hole. And then push, and it's on. Next step. There's a little indentation right here on the side. That little indentation has to run along this channel right here. And just simply place the knob on, and give it a push, and give it a pull just to make sure it's installed. Test for operation from both sides, and there you have it. The LSDA Grade 2 passage function knob from lockpeddler.com.